What if you were a medical doctor and made a discovery that could help cure millions of people with inflammatory-related diseases like acute rheumatism, IBS, Parkinson's disease, asthma, tuberculosis, and even some cancers? And what if, over a period of 30 years, you'd had lots of success with treating people with this medical discovery? You'd think that it would be something almost everyone, especially people who are in charge of keeping the public healthy, would be interested in, right? Because, well, aside from being the proper thing to aim for in a modern civilized society, it just makes sense, right? Well, it would stand to reason that the answer would be yes to all of the above, right? Not necessarily. Our story starts in London with a conversation on a train. One man is telling another about an Indian medical doctor who is curing thousands of people with inflammatory-related diseases like acute arthritis, allergies, and even tuberculosis with a different kind of treatment, and has been successfully doing it so far for 30 years. Yet he and his methods remain largely obscure and unknown outside of his home state of Andhra Pradesh in southern India. The idea was so intriguing that after a number of conversations and emails and Skype calls between the UK and India, we decided to set off to India in the hope of seeing more for ourselves. After several hours flying east, we arrived in a city on the southeast coast of India called Visakhapatnam, where we met Dr. Apparao Movie, the Indian doctor responsible for his famous inflammation-related disease treatments. Upon arrival at his surgery in the early afternoon on a Saturday, we saw at least 20 to 30 patients queuing outside, and were told that that was the normal way of things. Then we were introduced to one man who just walked 6 hours from his home in the countryside to get Dr. Apparao's medicine needed by his father. Southern India has some of the poorest and largest communities in the modern world, with a very low standard of living compared to Western countries. And most people work many more hours and earn far less in a month than even the lowest paid hourly worker in the West would earn in a day. One of the most sobering realities is, when poor people fall ill, there is no government medical insurance to turn to. So in such circumstances, it is the family who is looked to when a major health condition is diagnosed. This is probably why the life expectancy here is 64 years, as compared to 78 in the United States and 81 in the United Kingdom.
I have started my career in the year 1984 as a general practitioner after getting my basic degree, that is MBBS. I was in a feeling that this country, like India, needs more general practitioners, not the specialist doctors. So with that convention, I went to my native place, which is called Bobbili, a rural India. This is in the southeast of India, and it is rather a very, very poor place. This is the place where I have started my clinic.
Okay.
And this is my house. That's my clinic.
Although India is considered one of the fastest growing countries in the technological age, there are still many villages without both electricity or indoor plumbing, where people still live and work as they did 200 or 300 years ago. In some places, it is almost as if time has stood still. In this village here, a majority of people make their living as farmers or by chopping and gathering wood from the nearby forest to sell. So it is ironic that in this place, where people are so steeped in the traditions of the past, and change comes so slowly, that a development in medical treatment that has the potential of changing millions of lives was first discovered.
I'm very happy in that I felt that's my own house. This is 150 years old small house that is not even 5 feet width area, in which I put some table, chair, and I started my practice. That's all. I didn't have any beds. I'm only a prescribing doctor doing injections, small treatments, attending all the small needs of the people. If delivery comes, I used to go to their house and do the deliveries like good old days practice. So Gradually, my popularity has risen among the poorest of the poor people. So I didn't have any kind of a conventional fee. In those days, the fees is around 20 rupees or so. People used to put at 1 rupee, half rupee, and 2 rupees also into my dabba. In the dabba, in the sense, it's called a box. People call it as a charity box. So like that, I had so much of acquaintance with my patients. Rather, they are not my patients; they are my soulmates. So when the things are moving very gradually, I am very successful in treating fevers, diarrheas. I am successful in conducting deliveries. At that time, people used to pose me a question, Doctor, can't you do something to our joint pains? I said, oh, why not? When I write ibuprofen or an aspirin or something like that, the failure was at my end. So I went into a deep introspection. I thought of, can't I attend even these joint pains? What is the subject I have learned? So I went into the deep introspection and starting pursuing for various things. So in that time, except a textbook and this thing, there is no other area to learn things. One of the commonest way to get the medical information is the medical reps, medical representatives. They used to bring the information from the company to do our doorstep. So like that, whatever the information I give, we do judiciously the practice. So one fine morning, one fellow introduced a medicine which actually works for allergies. So then, next time I'm having a very rich number of patients. I was not at a problem to me. So obviously, when I given this medicine, their allergy like skin allergy or an asthmatic wheeze, these things starts coming down. So I was happy and they are happy. Suddenly, one fine morning, one fellow said, "Sir, I used to suffer from so many pains and also the asthmatic wheeze. With your medication, I am happy for my wheeze as well as for my joint pains." I have puzzled up. The very next moment, another fellow came with the joint pains, consuming so many tons and tons of the pudding as well, so many antibiotics, so many painkillers, and including steroids. At the time, his face is swollen, legs are swollen, and his condition is so pathetic. So, since I have that information that yes, that fellow is all right, I simply tried. Why can't I try this? So I tried this medicine. It is really miraculously worked. This fellow is happy. Within no time, in a couple of 1 or 2 days, he returned back and said, "Doctor, I'm so happy with your medicine." So then, one by one, joint pain people used to come, and I used to give the same kind of a regime what I have given to this fellow. Certainly my curative rate is better. Then the patients are very joyfully call me the Vata Pidugu. In sense, I am the thunder to the arthritis. Of course, it's only a common name given by the community. I was not, enjoyed any joy out of it. But I am keen in observing all these things. When one fellow is suffering from joint pains, along with his post-paralysis sequel, he came to me and said, "Doctor, along with my joint pains, the paralysis is also better." I was confused. After that, I have decided that I have to understand the basic science behind it. I have given the message to the very important medical specialists in this country, and they have responded to me. After that, I have realized that I am meddling some important portion in the field of immunology. Immunology is not a developed science then. And as a rural doctor, I don't know what is meant by immunology is. So I have decided to study it. For this study, I have sacrificed my practice. A decade practice. I started in 84 and I left the education after a decade. So in 1993, I have joined in MD in microbiology. Why I took specifically microbiology is a science which contains immunology. So then, opted myself for another more higher study. I went to All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I could get the opportunity to do immunology there. There I have learnt all the modern science and conducted my animal experiments. And in this process, I could come to know all these days I am arresting is nothing but inflammation. So the inflammation is the crux. To all my surprise, I had a good success that I found out that the product what I am using is arresting the inflammation. The inflammation is the body's natural defense process. This is like a cooking fire, which is, as long as it is useful for us to cook, fire is a very good thing. When fire suddenly inflames, burns the entire house, but the fire is fire. So the inflammation is the protecting fire. This comes, flares up, arrests the thing and protects us. This is the game the nature has given to all the biological species. So in the inflammation there are so many layers. So the finally inflammation is always interlinked with a process called healing. Inflammation and healing, they go hand in hand. So the inflammation is due to any reason delayed, the healing is delayed. And the healing is delayed, the illness is delayed. So at that time, I have studied further and further. One fine morning I got the awakening that this IgE muscle mediator pathway cycle is an inbuilt in the both of the cycles. So that is the crux. That histamine cycle, which is coming as a vicious cycle, is the crux. So now the people are calling this cycle as, on my name, Rao's vicious cycle. One of my most interesting case, in the year 1996 or so, certain people came to my clinic in running and said, "Sir, our boy is in a death condition." He moved around all the hospitals, including the government hospital, where they said that the boy had Japanese B encephalitis. So Japanese B encephalitis is a deadly condition. At that time, I have seen 4 cases is on my notice, 3 were expired, and this boy is also at the time of death. They called me and went to their house. I went to that village and into the deep houses. I said, "There is some new medicine with me. I'll try with this boy. The rest is your luck." So I given it and I said, the froth is coming from his mouth. The boy is not blinking. He's having a stare look. This was the condition. I said, "Okay, if the froth reduced, if the boy is able to blink his eyes, then give me a message." At that time, no telephones, nothing, only bicycles. They came in the night around 8 o'clock and said, "Sir, the boy is blinking his eyes." They wanted to bring the boy to my house. I have only a house. So we put the boy on my long table and he's in deep coma. He is not responding even to the pain stimuli. At that time we have started the drips and other things. So just we have maintained his the vitals, and gradually I have given a couple of doses of this molecule. He was in coma for about 21 days. So one fine morning the boy could get out from a deep sleep and sat down. There is a surprise to me. Before that, once and twice they were asking me, "Sir, if the boy is going to survive?" I said, "I don't know. If the boy survives, what could be your expectations? How could be the boy?" I said, "Usually encephalitis means the brain, we lose all the vital functions of the brain. But all to my surprise, he has lost only 2 fingers and he regained his consciousness. He is talking and he is grown up to this age. Now he is become the father of 2 children."
నారాయణదాస్ నుండి వచ్చి మా అక్కగారింటికి వస్తే నాకు జ్వరం వచ్చిందండి. 81లో వచ్చింది జ్వరం వస్తుంటే అలాగే వస్తుంటే తగ్గిపోతుంటే ఇదేంటిది పరిస్థితిని తర్వాత వచ్చేసరికి ఏటి మారింది నాకు అర్థం కాలేదండి. వచ్చి డాక్టర్ గారు వచ్చారు. వచ్చిన తర్వాత డాక్టర్ గారు రోడ్డు వెళ్ళిపోయిన తర్వాత మా వాళ్ళు వెళ్ళారు. పలానా అప్పారావు డాక్టర్ అని ఉన్నాడు. ఉన్న తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు ఆయన తీసుకొస్తే ఎలాగొంటుందని ఆయన దగ్గరికి వచ్చి ఆయన ఇచ్చి ఒక ఇంజక్షన్ చేసి మళ్ళీ రేపూరి వెళ్ళాలని ఉంచాడండి. అంతలోనూ ఏదో ఒకటి నా యందుండు మరి ఆయన వాళ్ళ పేరు రావడమో నా వాళ్ళ ఆయన పేరు రావడమని ఒక నాగుపాము ఏదో అడ్డుపడ్డదని అట్టినట్టు తిరిగి పండండి. ఒకసారి ఆయన ఇంజక్షన్ చేసిన తర్వాత కన్ను రెప్పని కొడతాడు, లేకపోతే కాలుని కదిపితే నా దగ్గర తేండి లేదంటే మానేండి రకంగా ఆయన చెప్పి చెడిపోయాడు. ఆయన తర్వాత ఆయన దయ వల్ల ఎలాగోనగా నాకు కన్ను రెప్ప కొట్టినట, అదే నాకు తెలీదు. అప్పుడు తర్వాత బొబ్బులు తీసుకొచ్చారు. బొబ్బులు తీసుకొచ్చిన తర్వాత ఆ డాక్టర్ కూడా నన్ను బాగు చేశారు. బాగు చేసిన తర్వాత బొబ్బులు 2 నెలలు ఉండిపోయామండి. 2 నెలలు ఉండిపోయిన తర్వాత అలాగే ఇప్పటికే కొద్దిగా తేలుగు గుంది అనుకున్నాం. తేలుగు గుందిన తర్వాత నాస్ట్ చేసి 2 ఏళ్ళు ఉండిపోయాయండి. ఏళ్ళు రాలేదండి. ఈ ఏళ్ళు గురించి చిన్న బాధపడతాను. ఆ డాక్టర్ కూడా అలాగే అన్నాడండి. నాకు పెళ్ళి అయ్యి ఇప్పుడు 4 సంవత్సరాలు అయింది. 4 సంవత్సరాలు అయింది నాకు పెళ్ళి అయ్యి. 2 పిల్లలండి, ఆడపిల్ల మగపిల్లడండి. వాళ్ళు బట్టి నేను అలాగే జీవిస్తాను. డాక్టర్ గారు మళ్ళీ ఈ రోజుకి నన్ను గుర్తు తెచ్చి ఇక్కడికి పోకరింగ్కి రమ్మని. మా నాన్న చచ్చిపోయాడు, మా అమ్మ చచ్చిపోయింది, నేను ఒక్కనేనండి. నా తోట 3 అప్పచెల్లు, 3 అది అంతా అందరూ ఉన్నాండి. నేను ఒక్కనే ఉన్నానండి. ఇప్పుడు మా ఆవిడ నేనే ఉన్నానండి. మా నాన్న ఉన్నంతవరకు డాక్టర్ గారు అని 24 గంటల డాక్టర్ గారినే కోరుకుంటాడు. తనిసినా సరే నేను కూడా డాక్టర్ గారు అని కోరుకుంటాడిని. మొత్తం ఏదో ఈ రోజుకే మా డాక్టర్ గారు పేరు వల్ల ఇక్కడికి పాకరం గురించి నేను వచ్చాను. అంతే నా సంతోషం. మా డాక్టర్ గారి పేరు వల్ల 28,000 అయినాయండి. 28,000.
What is equally as interesting as Dr. Apparao's cases is the fact that his work is endorsed and supported by his medical colleagues, all of whom have been trained in Western biomedicine.
This could be a breakthrough, or probably you will have to experiment this so-called treatment by Dr. Apparao in many patients, and we have to put this theory across so many medical forums. He has to get something like acceptance from all the forums, because he is going to deal with many number of patients across all immunological diseases, across all inflammatory diseases, in cancer diseases, in diabetes also. So in that aspect, this treatment going to be very helpful to so many people, but still, as I said, needs acceptance from all medical forums.
In conventional medicine, a majority of the diseases are dealt independently, and there is no common initial point in any of the conventional approach. But in the viscous cycle, as Dr. Rao stated, there is initially all the diseases have the same startup process. So if you are going to stop the initial process, all the diseases can stop. So no other conventional medicine talks about the initial insult resulting in all the diseases. I see many cancer patients dealt with Dr. Rao who are suggested to have chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Any patient who undergoes chemotherapy and radiotherapy will definitely end up in having some complications, and even though the observed lifespan is increased, it's not increased because of the side effect profiles what they overcome in the process of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. But if the patients are ready for the therapy, suggested by Dr. Rao, the outcome is miraculous. I have seen some breast cancer patients, liver cancer patients, and pancreatic cancer patients who has been treated by a couple of years, and eventually they are out of the disease and there are no side effects with this medication treatment.
It doesn't have any side effects. As very 1 or 2 minimal side effects we have encountered. Literally, it doesn't have any side effects. And that's the reason why we are giving very comfortably in every place. We can give it in our clinic, we are giving it in the railway station, we are able to give it in the bus stand, on the roadside. Nothing happens because of the availability of the people, because they cannot commute so much of far off places. There is a lot of financial constraint for the patients. So that's the reason why if I'm on the way, I'm comfortable in delivering this medicine.
This is an inexpensive treatment. Generally, most of the patients can feel better or cured for an amount in rupees equal to about $100 American, which is equal to 70 British pounds.
So this is sufficient to manage this show. The people are successful with this. So then we may extend the course, for which they are funding for themselves very comfortably. This works for about a 3 months period. So in the 3 months, we'll ask them to put this same money even in the installments. We don't take at a time. We will ask them to keep that money. We will ask them to expense for themselves periodically. That's all.
So based upon this, I think this treatment can be easily introduced to any country.
Shouldn't we as a society be concerned about curing illnesses and taking a serious look at what is being talked about and offered, especially as it may provide answers to the acknowledged and growing economic problems in healthcare?
In the current situation, the big driver is economics, because with rising healthcare costs, aging population, and rising lifestyle illnesses, we are not going to be able to afford to give the kind of medicine we're giving now to every person. So I believe in 5 years' time, if one of us suddenly got chest pain, ringing for an ambulance, that we might not actually be lucky enough to have a blue light ambulance here in 15 or 20 minutes. And so already Big Pharma is suffering because they can't be guaranteed that anybody will buy the drugs that are being created, the new drugs being created. Previously, if a company invested 50 million in bringing a drug to market, they could be pretty confident that the NHS would pay for it. Now that is not clear at all, and I've even seen a very cynical little insurance policy called My Cancer Drugs, where people are being persuaded to invest now in a premium in case they have cancer and in case the NHS can't pay for their drugs. So I think that cost effectiveness is going to be the key, and I think that the holistic health movement, the more we can prove that simple, cheap, effective lifestyle interventions are cutting costs, the more traction we'll get.
So now we know about this possible medical discovery that seems to have been working for the good of patients for 30 years. And not only is it affordable, it can be administered without fear of side effects. The next logical step would be to popularize this discovery, announce it to the world, put it into the hands of doctors and let people come running to get cured. Well, that is logical, right? All the healthcare officials, especially those connected to governments whose job it is to make sure the public stay as healthy as possible, will surely respond positively, right? Well, not really. And that's because the way in which new medical treatments are discovered, managed and brought to market is part of the pharmaceutical business that has very little to do with curing people, but rather more to do with creating huge profits for its investors. So now the issue becomes, can we or should we trust an industry that has shown itself to be consistently corrupt to help deliver something that may actually stop people spending lots and lots of money buying their medicines? So now we have Dr. Apparao with his novel approach to healing. How likely would it be for him to enter into the established marketplace?
Oh, it'd be impossible. Absolutely impossible. The business of licensing a drug requires vast resources. And be quite impossible for me as an individual to do that. So that's out of the question. The drug companies aren't interested in curing people. In fact, the last thing the drug companies want to do is to cure people. What drug companies want is people taking symptom suppression medication for life, or at least for long term, and if that causes other problems requiring more drugs, well, that's even better, because that's what's good for profits. So drug companies do not want to cure in the short term. That doesn't make any money at all.
New drugs that are brought to market are done so at huge expense by a group of large pharmaceutical companies, collectively and commonly referred to as Big Pharma. They control the flow of what drugs come onto the marketplace by using their huge financial and political influence. This can include the financing of the research and testing of the drugs they sell, lobbying various governmental bodies to approve their drugs for sale, financing the education of doctors involved in the dispensing of their drugs, marketing to get the public to buy their drugs. All of this is no secret because for many years now, lots of experts have been saying the same thing. Dr. Marsha Angel, former editor-in-chief at the New England Journal of Medicine, noted in a lecture that drug companies pay for most continuing education which doctors have to get in order to keep their state licenses, and that the reason for this is simply because doctors write the prescriptions that prescription drugs require in order to be sold.
I've been in NHS general practice for 20 years, and it's been increasingly apparent to me that the doctors within the National Health Service, and indeed within conventional medicine, are not addressing the root causes of disease.
So, knowing all of this, where does that leave Dr. Apparao, who might have discovered something that could help to accomplish the job of really curing certain diseases?